Captain Varric Thorne stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Union starship Intrepid, his amber eyes fixed on the vast expanse of space stretching out before him. As a seasoned Aurorian officer with decades of service under his belt, he had witnessed countless wonders and horrors during his career. Yet nothing could have prepared him for the day when humanity first made contact with the Union. It had been a routine patrol mission near the outer rim of Union-controlled space, with the Intrepid tasked with monitoring for any unusual activity. Varric, a mere lieutenant at the time, had been diligently watching the long-range scanners when an unfamiliar signal caught his attention. A small, primitive spacecraft was approaching their position, its design unlike anything in the Union's extensive database of known species and technologies. As the alien vessel drew closer, Varric and his fellow crewmates watched in astonishment as a hatch opened, revealing a bipedal figure clad in a bulky white suit. The being raised a 5-fingered appendage, waving it back and forth in what appeared to be a gesture of greeting. Varric's bioluminescent patterns flickered with a mix of curiosity and apprehension, his mind racing with questions about these mysterious visitors. The Intrepid's captain, a grizzled Aurorian veteran named Oren Vex, ordered the communications officer to open a channel with the unknown craft. "This is Captain Oren Vex of the Galactic Union starship Intrepid," he said, his voice steady and authoritative. "Identify yourselves and state your intentions." There was a brief moment of silence before a crackling voice emerged from the speakers, the words heavily accented and halting. "Greetings, Captain Vex. This is Commander Michael Janssen of the United Earth Space Agency vessel Prometheus. We come in peace, seeking to establish contact with any sentient life beyond our own solar system." Varric exchanged a glance with his fellow officers, their expressions a mix of surprise and excitement. First contact with a new species was a momentous occasion, one that could shape the course of galactic history. As the Intrepid's second-in-command, Varric knew that he would play a crucial role in the days and weeks to come. Over the next several hours, the crew of the Intrepid worked to establish a more stable line of communication with the humans aboard the Prometheus. Linguists and xenobiologists pored over the data streaming in from the alien vessel, working to decipher the intricacies of human language and culture. As the two ships drifted side by side in the vastness of space, Varric found himself increasingly fascinated by these strange new beings. He studied the images and videos transmitted from the Prometheus, marveling at the diversity of human appearance and behavior. Unlike the Aurorians, who were a relatively homogeneous species with similar physical characteristics and social norms, humans seemed to come in a dizzying array of shapes, sizes, and colors. Some were tall and slender, with pale skin and hair the color of Earth's sun. Others were short and stout, with rich dark complexions and tightly curled hair. But what struck Varric most was the sheer variety of human cultures and traditions. Even aboard the small crew of the Prometheus, there were individuals from dozens of different nations and ethnic groups, each with their own unique customs and beliefs. As the Intrepid's crew worked to establish a formal diplomatic channel with the humans, Varric immersed himself in the study of Earth and its inhabitants. He pored over the data files transmitted from the Prometheus, learning about the planet's tumultuous history and the incredible challenges its people had overcome. He read about the great wars that had ravaged Earth's surface, the devastating pandemics that had decimated its population, and the environmental catastrophes that had pushed its ecosystem to the brink of collapse. Yet through it all, humanity had persevered, driven by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and an unshakable determination to survive. In the weeks and months that followed, the Galactic Union learned more about these newcomers who called themselves humans. Originating from a small, unremarkable planet on the fringes of known space, they had somehow managed to develop rudimentary spaceflight technology, propelling themselves into the void using crude chemical rockets. It was a testament to their ingenuity and determination, and Varric couldn't help but be impressed by their accomplishments. Despite their technological limitations, the humans proved to be a resilient and adaptable species. As contact between the Union and Earth intensified, Varric found himself increasingly fascinated by their unique biology and culture. He spent countless hours poring over reports and video logs, studying everything from their physiology to their social structures. Unlike the Aurorians, who communicated through a complex system of bioluminescent patterns emitted from their skin, humans relied on vocalizations produced by a series of muscles and organs in their throats. Initially, this made communication difficult, as the Union's translation devices struggled to interpret the nuances of human language. But teams of linguists and xenobiologists on both sides worked tirelessly to bridge the gap, developing sophisticated algorithms and neural networks to facilitate better understanding between the two species. As Varek's career progressed, he found himself working alongside humans more and more frequently. Despite their relative newcomer status within the Galactic Union, they quickly proved their value as allies and partners in exploration and defense. Their adaptability and resourcefulness made them invaluable assets on missions to uncharted regions of space, and their courage and tenacity in the face of adversity earned them the respect of their Aurorian colleagues. One mission in particular stood out in Varek's memory. The Intrepid had been dispatched to a remote, inhospitable world on the edge of Reshian space, tasked with establishing a forward operating base to monitor the aggressive Empire's activities. The planet, designated Kreos 6, was a frozen hellscape, its surface swept by fierce winds and blanketed in a thick layer of ice. As the away team prepared to disembark, Varek noticed one of the human crew members, a young lieutenant named Ethan Riker, stepping out of the airlock without his environmental suit. Alarmed, the Aurorian captain rushed over, his bioluminescent patterns flashing in concern. "Lieutenant Riker, what are you doing?" Varek demanded, his translator implant converting his thoughts into English. "The surface temperature is well below the tolerances of most species. You'll freeze to death in minutes." Riker merely chuckled, his breath condensing in the frigid air as he zipped up his heavy jacket. "Don't worry, Captain," he replied with a grin. "I grew up in Alaska. This is nothing compared to the winters back home." Varek watched in amazement as the human strode out onto the icy plain, seemingly unaffected by the deadly cold. It was at that moment that the Aurorian realized the true potential of humanity's adaptability and resilience. If they could thrive in conditions that would kill most other species, what else were they capable of? As the rest of the away team emerged from the Intrepid, clad in heavy environmental suits, Varek couldn't help but marvel at Riker's resilience. The human moved with a fluid grace, his body adapting to the harsh conditions in ways that the Aurorian could scarcely comprehend. Over the next several days, as the team worked to establish the forward operating base, Varek found himself increasingly impressed by Riker's skills and knowledge. The young lieutenant seemed to have an innate understanding of the frozen landscape, his instincts guiding him to the best locations for shelter and resources. Under Riker's guidance, the team was able to construct a series of fortified bunkers and observation posts, each one carefully camouflaged to blend in with the icy terrain. Varek marveled at the human's ingenuity, watching as he used his knowledge of Earth's Arctic regions to design and build structures that could withstand the brutal conditions of Kreos 6. As the mission progressed, Varek found himself spending more and more time with Riker, fascinated by the human stories of his childhood in Alaska. He listened intently as Riker described the harsh beauty of the tundra, the way the northern lights danced across the night sky, and the incredible adaptability of the native peoples who had thrived in such an unforgiving environment for generations. Through Riker's tales, Varek gained a new appreciation for the strength and resilience of the human spirit. He began to understand that, despite their relative technological inferiority, humans possessed a unique set of skills and abilities that made them invaluable allies in the fight against the Reshian Empire. As the war with the Reshian Empire escalated, Varek found himself relying on human ingenuity and bravery more than ever. Time and again, they proved their worth on the battlefield, their diverse range of skills and experiences allowing them to tackle challenges that would have stymied other species. From the scorching deserts of Eridos Prime to the toxic swamps of Venomia, human soldiers and specialists were always ready to step up and face the dangers head-on. Varek marveled at their ability to not only survive, but thrive in conditions that would quickly incapacitate most other species. He watched as they adapted their tactics and equipment to suit each new environment, leveraging their knowledge of biology, chemistry, and physics to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. One particularly harrowing mission took place on the jungle world of Verdania. Varek's unit had been tasked with infiltrating a heavily fortified Reshian base, located deep within a dense rainforest teeming with dangerous flora and fauna. The humidity was oppressive, the air thick with the chirps and calls of countless alien creatures. As they trekked through the undergrowth, a massive serpentine creature burst from the foliage, its gaping maw lined with razor-sharp teeth. Varric and his Aurorian comrades froze in terror, their instincts screaming at them to flee. But Sergeant Olivia Hawke, a human from the Amazon region of Earth, sprang into action without hesitation. With lightning speed, she drew her machete and leaped onto the beast's back, deftly avoiding its snapping jaws. She plunged the blade into the creature's eye, causing it to thrash and writhe in agony. Hawke held on tight, riding the monster like a bucking bronco until it finally collapsed, dead. As she wiped the gore from her blade, Hawke flashed Varric a grin. "Just like wrestling caimans back home," she quipped, leaving the Aurorian captain stunned and more than a little impressed. He had never seen such fearlessness and skill in the face of danger, and it was a moment he would never forget. Tales of human heroics spread throughout the Galactic Union, and Varric found himself promoted to the rank of commander, overseeing joint operations between Aurorian and human forces. He marveled at the way human tactical officers approach problems, their unconventional thinking often leading to surprising and effective solutions. One such officer was Lieutenant Commander Nadia Sokolov, a brilliant strategist with a knack for thinking outside the box. When a Rishian fleet ambushed the Intrepid and its escorts, threatening to overwhelm them with superior numbers, Sokolov devised a daring plan that would turn the tide of battle. Rather than engaging the enemy head-on, she suggested luring them into the nearby Oort cloud, a vast field of icy debris left over from the formation of the system's planets. By carefully maneuvering their ships through the treacherous field, the Union fleet could use the cloud's shifting gravity wells and unpredictable obstacles to even the odds. Varric was initially skeptical, but Sokolov's confidence and the dire nature of their situation convinced him to take the risk. As the Reshian ships pursued them into the Oort cloud, the humans' plan began to bear fruit. The enemy vessels, less agile and more cumbersome than their Union counterparts, found themselves battered by rogue comets and pulled off course by sudden gravitational shifts. In the end, the Intrepid and its allies emerged victorious, having decimated the Reshian fleet while suffering minimal losses of their own. Varric made a mental note to never underestimate the value of human ingenuity and unorthodox thinking. It was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his career. As the war against the Reshians raged on, Captain Varric Thorn found himself drawn to the company of his human colleagues more and more. Their tenacity, courage, and unwavering spirit in the face of adversity left a profound impact on the Aurorian officer, and he began to seek out their presence whenever possible. One place where Varric felt particularly connected to his human comrades was the medbay. Amidst the sterile white walls and the soft beeping of medical equipment, he would make his rounds, visiting the wounded and offering words of encouragement. It was a ritual that brought him a sense of peace and purpose, a way to honor the sacrifices of those who had given so much in the fight against the Reshians. There was something about the resilience of these human soldiers that spoke to Varric on a deep personal level. Despite the pain and the hardships they endured, they maintained an unbreakable spirit, a fierce determination to push forward no matter the cost. It was a quality that Varric admired and aspired to emulate in his own life. As he listened to their stories, tales of bravery, sacrifice, and camaraderie, Varric found himself learning valuable lessons about the human condition. He marveled at their ability to find hope in the darkest of times, to forge unbreakable bonds in the heat of battle, and to stand tall in the face of overwhelming odds. These were the qualities that made humans such formidable allies and such cherished friends. With each visit to the medbay, Varric's respect and admiration for his human colleagues grew. He saw in them a reflection of the best parts of himself, the courage, the loyalty, and the unwavering commitment to a cause greater than any one individual. It was a humbling realization, and one that filled him with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. And so, as the war dragged on and the battles grew more fierce, Varric made it a point to spend as much time as possible with his human comrades. He knew that, in their presence, he would find not only solace and encouragement, but also the strength to carry on, no matter what challenges lay ahead. It was during one such visit that Varric found himself at the bedside of Sergeant Olivia Hawke, the same soldier who had so fearlessly tackled the serpentine creature on Verdania. She was recovering from a severe leg wound, her face etched with pain, but her eyes still shining with that indomitable human spirit. "Captain Thorne," Hawk said, managing a weak smile as Varric approached. "I didn't expect to see you here." Varric placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a warm, comforting glow. "How are you feeling, Sergeant?" "I've been better," Hawk admitted, wincing as she shifted her position. "But I'll survive. We humans are tough, you know." Varric chuckled softly, his admiration for her resilience only growing. "That you are. Your bravery and strength never cease to amaze me." "Thank you, sir," Hawk said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Having you here, checking on us, it means a lot. It helps us feel less alone, like we're part of something bigger." Varric nodded, understanding the sentiment all too well. "You are part of something bigger, Sergeant. We all are. This struggle, this war, it's not just about the Aurorians or the humans or any one species. It's about all of us fighting together for a common cause." Hawk smiled, her spirits visibly lifted by the captain's words. "You're right, sir. We're in this together no matter what." As Varric moved on to the next bed, he couldn't help but reflect on the profound impact these human soldiers had on him. They taught him the true meaning of resilience, the power of camaraderie, and the unbreakable nature of the human spirit. It was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. "Captain Thorne," a voice called out, drawing Varric's attention. It was Lieutenant Ethan Riker, the same soldier who had so fearlessly stepped out onto the icy surface of Cryo 6 without an environmental suit. He was sitting up in his bed, his arm in a sling but his face beaming with pride. "Lieutenant," Varric greeted him warmly, "I see you're on the mend." "Yes, sir," Riker replied, grinning. "It'll take more than a Russian blaster to keep me down." Varric laughed, the sound echoing through the medbay. "I have no doubt about that, Lieutenant. Your spirit is an inspiration to us all." As he continued his rounds, Varric felt a deep sense of connection to these brave men and women, a bond forged through shared hardship and unwavering dedication. They were more than just soldiers. They were a family, united by a common purpose and an unbreakable will. And with each passing moment, each word of encouragement and gesture of support, Varric knew that he was learning just as much from them as they were from him. For in the face of adversity, it was the strength of the human spirit that shone the brightest, guiding them all towards a brighter future. Years later, as the conflict with the Rishians neared its end, Varric found himself aboard a transport ship, en route to a recently liberated planet to assist with reconstruction efforts. The ship's crew, as had become the norm, was a mix of Aurorians and humans, the latter having become an integral part of the Galactic Union in the decades since first contact. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring as the lights flickered and died. Varric, now a grizzled veteran, immediately recognized the signs of an attack. He drew his sidearm, the weapon feeling familiar and comforting in his grasp. The sound of weapons fire and harsh, guttural shouts echoed through the corridors. Varric knew that the ship had been boarded, likely by Russian holdouts or marauders seeking to capitalize on the chaos of the war's end. As he made his way towards the bridge, Varric encountered a small group of human crew members, their faces grim but determined. Among them was Corporal Elena Torres, a young woman with a reputation for being as skilled with a toolkit as she was with a blaster. "Captain Thorne," Torres greeted him, her voice steady despite the dire situation. "We're cut off from the bridge. The invaders have taken control of the primary systems." Varric nodded, his mind racing as he formulated a plan. "We need to retake the ship," he stated, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with resolve. "Corporal Torres, do you think you can get us into the maintenance ducts? We might be able to bypass the enemy and catch them by surprise." Torres grinned, her eyes glinting with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Absolutely, sir. I know these ducts like the back of my hand." As the small group made their way through the cramped, dimly lit maintenance tunnels, Varric couldn't help but marvel at the courage and determination of his human companions. Despite the overwhelming odds and the very real possibility of failure, they pressed on, driven by a fierce loyalty to their shipmates and an unshakable belief in the cause they fought for. When they finally emerged onto the bridge, Catching the Ratian marauders off guard, Varric watched in awe as the humans sprang into action. They moved with a fluid grace, their movements honed by years of training and experience. Blaster fire filled the air, the acrid smell of ozone mingling with the coppery tang of blood. In the end, the bridge was theirs, the remaining marauders either dead or subdued. As Varric surveyed the scene, his gaze fell upon the human crew members, their faces streaked with sweat and grime, their eyes shining with the light of victory. It was at that moment that Varric truly understood the depths of human resilience and the unbreakable bonds of camaraderie that held them together. They had faced insurmountable odds, stared death in the face, and emerged triumphant, their spirit unbroken and their resolve unshaken. As the Intrepid limped back to friendly space, Varric made a silent vow to himself. He would never again underestimate the strength and courage of humanity, nor the incredible feats they were capable of when they stood together as one. In the years that followed, Varric would often look back on that moment as a turning point in his life. It was the moment when he truly began to understand the unique and invaluable role that humans played in the tapestry of the galaxy and the profound impact they had on all those who were fortunate enough to know them. And as he watched humanity continue to grow and thrive, taking their rightful place among the stars, Varric knew that the future of the Galactic Union was in good hands. For with the indomitable spirit of humanity at its side, there was no challenge too great, no obstacle too daunting, and no dream too far beyond reach.